Hi, I'm Chuck Firlotte, and welcome to Heart, a podcast series on leadership brought to you from the Welch College of Business and Technology at beautiful Sacred Heart University.
Chuck Firlotte is a successful business executive, a guy who's worked very hard to get to where he is, emphasizes learning, taking care of people, and always meeting his responsibilities. He's actually a great role model for someone who wants to grow in their career. Has always wanted to do more, grow more, and make a greater contribution. And he's never ending. And you're going to have to nail his coffin shut when he dies, because he's going to want to do one more deal, for sure.
Good morning. This is Chuck Firlotte at beautiful Sacred Heart University. Welcome to Heart, a not too subtle play on the name of the school. This is all about leadership, and this morning I am absolutely delighted to have with me Ryan Hawk, who is the host of the Learning Leader podcast, a very successful podcast here in the U.S. Ryan is a author and consultant, motivational speaker, wears many hats, and Ryan, welcome to the show.
Chuck, I really appreciate you having me, man. It's good to see you doing this thing.
Thank you. Thank you much. Tell me a little bit about your early roots, please, because I've found that so important in interviewing guests, because it usually or oftentimes is a key to how they end up where they are. And so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, super.
Up to and including your football career as well. Sure. Very fortunate is the first thing. It's actually my dad's birthday today, and we're hosting my mom and my dad tonight with my brothers to celebrate. So that kind of tells you our family's still super close. My parents are the people I go to more than anybody as mentors and people I look up to. But born in southwestern Ohio, I'm the middle. So we was three boys in our family. My older brother Matt, he's 4 years older than me. I'm then me, and then my younger brother AJ, 2 years younger than me. So just a very loving, hardworking, competitive household. My parents were very present. My dad worked really, really hard, traveled quite a bit, but always seemed to get back in time for our games and to be with us, take us to batting cages, rebound for us, shooting free throws, throwing football in the backyard, all that stuff. So I just say very present. My dad's very also really good about being the model for someone who works insanely hard, as well as treats people with respect, especially my mom. And I think that's important for guys to see. And he remains that to this day. My mom is also extremely hardworking. They work out 7 days a week. They live half the year in Florida and half the year in Ohio, and are also present with their grandkids now, all of our kids. So I would just say very fortunate to grow up in the house that I did. I realize now as I get older that that's not the case for everybody, and Correct.
I'm super grateful for that, and realize that, I think as part of my thankful value is, I think if you've been given a lot, as I have, then you should give a lot. And so I try to leave people, places, and things better than I found them, because I know I was raised in a situation that is better than most, and I'm super grateful for that. And so I hope I can give back or make the most of all the stuff that I've been given, and help other people along the way, much like my mom and dad continue to do to this day. So I could go on forever about that, but I'll pause, and maybe there's parts you want to drill down on.
Sure. So the I guess what I would say is that early upbringing is hugely important. You're blessed to have had a wholesome one, and still have. You're correct in saying that it's not, more than enough, not often the case. That's not the death knell for a person if they come from a dysfunctional, but my God, it's a disadvantage. So yeah, God bless your parents and your dad on his
on his birthday today on the 1st of August. So, tell me a little bit about university, Ryan, and your football career.
Yeah, I committed and originally went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, out of high school. I was recruited to play football, played quarterback. Coming out of high school, I was fortunate to start for 4 years at tradition-rich Centerville High School, a place that has legendary coach Bob Gregg, who I fortunately got to play for. And went to Miami with the intention of really only one goal, and that was to play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Wanted to play professionally, and I thought the combination of the school and the offense that they were installing would give me a good opportunity to do that. It turns out I was correct in that the quarterback of that offense would play in the NFL. Just the fact, the bummer of it, at the time at least, was the fact that it wasn't me. I was the same age as a guy named Ben Roethlisberger. So football fans who pay attention know that guy. He beat me out for that job. I battled it out with him for 2 years. We both rotated for a bit, and eventually Coach, the late, great Terry Hepner, sat us down, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Ryan, Ben gives us a better chance to win than you do. He's going to be the guy." A really pivotal moment in my life that I think about still to this day all the time, because what it taught me was, regardless of how hard you work, regardless of doing extra, regardless of what you think you're entitled to, what you think you deserve, if someone else adds more value than you do, then they win and you lose. And maybe the world isn't so black and white, but for at that point and playing quarterback, it is only one guy can do it. And so I've drawn from that in everything I do since then, meaning if I don't feel like I'm adding enough value, I'm entitled to nothing, and I need to bring that value and do it every single day. And so at the time I hated it, but now it's probably one of the things I'm most grateful for that I went through that. After those 2 years, I transferred to Ohio University, where I was fortunate to have kind of a roller coaster up and down career. Started for a few years, got voted captain by my teammates in my senior season. And it went okay. Again, had some good moments, had some bad moments. It went well enough that I was offered some opportunities to play professionally afterwards. I was in the Arena Football League for a bit, Canadian Football League for a very short stint. Tried out for some NFL teams on those Tuesday workout days. Never got signed, but certainly owe a lot of what the good things that have happened in my life to the sport of football and all the things that I've learned from it.
I've had a number of friends, and actually a first cousin who were never quite good enough, if you will, for the big leagues. In my case, I'm talking hockey more than football, given my Canadian background. And it's devastating for a kid who has put their whole life into the sport and the ultimate goal. So how did you deal with that initially, the first several months to a year? How did that impact your life?
It's wild, man. So, Chuck, my senior year at Ohio University, I didn't think I'd play after college. I wanted to. I just didn't think I had performed well enough to get the opportunity. So my senior day, I vividly remember this. We played University of Akron. It's at home. It's my last game. My parents, when I was in college, they had to split up on the weekends because my brother was playing at the same time at a different school. So they were never able to go to games together because my dad would usually go to whoever was furthest away, and then my mom would have the shorter drive and would go with like aunts and uncles, other family members. But anyway, they decided to skip my brother's game that day, and both of them showed up for me because it was my last game. And I was just crying uncontrollably during the pregame kind of festivities where you walk out with your parents. I was crying on the sideline before we ran out for the first series. I was crying in between series. I cried uncontrollably after the game. I was just so sad that it was over. And it was really, really tough. Now, I didn't know I'd get the opportunity to keep playing, which I did, and that helped a little bit. But yeah, man, I mean, it's really hard. You put your whole life and soul, like you put your whole heart into everything that, and like every day since I was in, first grade.
Defines you.
100%. And you can say it shouldn't, but like that, the world's messy, humans are messy, and it definitely did. And so I just really, really struggled with not having it anymore. And so I was a little bit lucky that a family friend named Rex Caswell decided to hire me for a job in sales. And Rex gave me that job because he still is good friends with my dad. He told me, you've earned it through your work ethic and all this stuff. And maybe he thought that, but in reality, he probably was just doing my dad a favor. But I was so motivated to not let this be a nepotism hire that like I put everything I had into that first job that Rex hired me for, because I wanted to kind of prove that I could do something else with excellence outside of being a quarterback. And so what I really did was take kind of all of the work ethic stuff and resilience and preparation and channel that into that first job in sales. And the thought of coming in extra, working on Saturdays and Sundays to prepare for the week, like that wasn't a thing, but that's what I did because that's what I did when I played football. And so the thought of finding like the best sales rep in the company and just being his shadow, he was in my wedding actually years later. He's still one of my good friends to this day. That's what I did. He'd come in on the weekends with me. Like we would practice. I would sound like an idiot, but like, that's kind of like what you have to do to become a good quarterback. You got to get the reps, you got to practice, you got to prepare. And so I would say it helped, not fully, but it helped a little bit to channel some of that kind of work ethic that I developed playing sports into another competitive environment, which was the profession of selling, because they would release the stack rankings every day. They would say who's the best, who's not doing well. You get fired if you don't do well. And so it didn't fully like take the place of it, but it definitely helped some, that I could still be competitive, that I could still work really hard, that I could still channel some of that into something else. And then time is most what you need. Like any time that's really tough, you just need time. And so eventually things just got a little bit better and a little bit better as I was building my professional career. And so eventually you kind of get to a place where you're okay. But yeah, it's years worth of time in order to get to that spot.
Unpacking.
Yeah.
How did you get to your present day, Ryan? What was the journey from your sales job to present day, where you influence the lives of countless others and impact people in the ways that you do?
So I was given advice that I should get my MBA. My undergraduate degree is in organizational communication from Ohio University, and I got good advice. Hey, go back to school and get your MBA.
Good school, by the way.
Yeah. Great communication school, great radio, TV, journalism too. So I took a lot of those classes, which it's weird now. It's probably helped me, even though I didn't realize I'd be doing this. I don't even know if there was podcasts when I was in college, maybe early days. But anyway, I got advice to get my MBA. So I went back to school. I was doing classes. They were at night, weekend stuff, online, all of that. It took me 6 years to get my MBA because I was working full time, and I hated a lot of it. Like I had to get tutors, I had to get help. People at work who were better at finance and other things were helping me out. Like it was a mess, but I got it. It went well. I got the grades, whatever. So, but my company reimbursed me for that. And I thought, well, I've been getting reimbursed for 6 years. I should continue going to school. I should get get another degree, maybe in leadership or something, because I had been promoted up to that point into a leadership role. But like, I didn't love all the classes, as I mentioned. I didn't love the process that they said, hey, if you want to get this degree, you got to take these classes with these teachers. I wanted more ownership over my learning. I was really curious to learn, especially about leadership. I had been listening to some podcasts. I'd been interviewing tons of people for jobs, but whether they were for my team that I was running or for other teams, I had been kind of noted as somebody who was good at interviewing. So I was like, well, I've been listening to some podcasts. What if I just launched my own as a way to get these brilliant leaders to talk to me? They're much more probably willing to say, hey, can I interview you for a podcast versus, hey, can I just call you?
Right.
So that's what I did. I was 10 and a half years ago, almost 11 years ago now, of creating my own form of a leadership PhD program, of chasing my own curiosity with great rigor. And that's the biggest life-changing moment, other than probably getting married, of my life, is that I decided to do that. I did it early, before podcasts were as big as they were, and I named it the Learning Leader Show because those are my favorite leaders, my favorite coaches, my favorite teachers, my favorite bosses are the ones who are always reading books and watching TED Talks and going to leadership conferences, doing the types of things to improve as a person and to prove as a leader. And now it's been 650-ish episodes later, and I've got to meet some just amazing people as a result. And now it's my life's work, is interviewing brilliant people and then sharing what I'm learning from those, whether it's in the form of speeches, consulting, or writing books. And so, again, very fortunate, very grateful, super lucky. And now I'm just trying to make the most of it.
For the viewing and listening audience that may not be familiar with your podcast, I've been uber impressed with the sort of the caliber of leaders that you have on. General McChrystal, Jeff Immelt, Jim Collins, the author of the classic, iconic Good to Great. And it has to be tremendously fulfilling to you as well, kind of learning as you go as well from these people.
I mean, my podcast is for an audience of one. Yeah. Like, it's a selfish act. I am chasing my own curiosity. That's really what it's about. It is my personal leadership PhD program. Now, I am very happy that it seems to have attracted a crowd, and that crowd has then again changed my life. I've left the corporate America as of late 2017 going into 2018 to do this stuff full time, to interview people, to crystallize and synthesize the best of what I'm learning and share it with other people in various forms. That's crazy to me. Like, I didn't think that was even a thing, that was possible. So the fact that it is what I get to do for a living is something I just will never, ever take it for granted. And so that's why, like, the reward for me is just that I get to keep doing it, that I can provide for my family in a way that's something that I get so excited on Sunday nights for what I get to do on Monday mornings and the whole week. Like, literally so excited. Sometimes it's hard to sleep. And I just never want to take that for granted. I want to always put maximum effort and preparation into it, so that I keep, again, adding value to other people, because I learned when I was 19 years old, if somebody else adds more value than you, then they get to play and you don't. And right. So I'll never forget that, and I think it fuels me and drives me every day, because I vividly remember Coach Hepner and Ben sitting next to me in his office, and somebody just flat out telling you that, yeah, regardless of what you've done, it's not enough. Right. And so I think, we're all kind of fueled by different things, but that's something for me that I'll never forget. And now, I'm using that to do some really cool stuff and hopefully help lots of people.
One of the things I've really been impressed with as a follower of yours is the respect you accord your guests. You're not out to play gotcha, and you're not out to be divisive. You're not out to polarize. I listened to, I've listened to many, but I've listened to I recall the one you did with Jeff Immelt, very respectful, and he talked about his tenure at General Electric. I had a recent podcast with the authors of Lights Out, Pride, Delusion, and the Fall of GE. So it's the story of the handover from Jack Welch to Jeff. And one of the things I stated with them is that it's too simplistic to say Jack was great and Jeff not as much. That's not the story at all. And you were very respectful with him, and that seems to be a thread of your podcast. It's an incredible opportunity to learn, but it's also done in a way that doesn't have to divide and polarize and embarrass, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. The funny thing is, I think as you talk to more and more people, I shouldn't say you, as I have talked to more and more people, what I think it's done is it's made me more reasonable. It's also made me understand that the world, like maybe as I was younger or earlier, I thought the world was pretty black and white. It's either this or it's that. It's a 1 or a 2. It's and that just isn't how it works. I mean, once you really dig into stories like Jeff's or others, humans are so messy. We're all figuring it out as we go. And so people like to create narratives about whatever is happening that is like a nice wrapped up in a bow story. And it's never that way. It's just not how it works. Like, think about your own life. It's all kind of like messiness along the way as you're figuring some things out, and you never arrive. You're always in this becoming mode, I think. So to me, I think it's the podcast, one of the best things it's done for me in my life and my relationships. It's made me far less judgmental and much more curious, because when you dig into the stories, the actual things that happen, there's always a lot of mess in there. And to me, it's empowering. It's inspiring when you realize that nobody has it fully figured out. They're all trying to kind of iterate and go and go and go. I just try to, like, Ted Lasso has made it more famous now, but I try to approach people with curiosity instead of judgment. Whereas 10 years ago, I may approach people with judgment and no curiosity. So I think that's a good kind of evolution that's happened just from having so many conversations with all these interesting people.
I had a recent podcast with Dr. Gherkin, a consultant psychologist, and he hit on a similar theme, that the as you mature and as you elevate in career and job, the world becomes more gray, even in finance. It's not black and white. Oh, how have you been able in a crazy disruptive world and in a very busy life with family to write 3 books?
I love writing immediately when I get up.
Yep.
So I like the peacefulness of my whole home. Everyone's asleep. And so it's funny though, like if you could, consistency is also one of my 4 core values: thoughtful, thankful, curious, and consistent. But the consistency one, to show up every day, you'd be amazed at what you could accomplish if you're willing to write for an hour a day. If you make that commitment, just an hour a day, every morning or whatever time. Some people like late at night. And so it's weird. Like, if you actually make that commitment and then you follow through and you do it, you could write upwards of, that's 500 words. You're looking at 180,000 plus words at the end of a year. And so if most people, the thing is they're just not willing or able to maintain that consistency, to wake up and do that every day. It is possible for all of us. It was ingrained in me, both from my dad especially, but also my high school football coaches, that you're going to get up early to work out. And so part of my regular routine is just to get up early, hydrate, stretch, write, and work out. And then my family eventually wakes up and then us have, their breakfast time or put my youngest on the bus, that type of thing. So to me, it's just consistency and getting up and doing the thing. And it's possible for all of us. It's not easy, but it's definitely there. It's possible. And that way you can kind of work in the margins and get a lot done. When someone's like, how is that possible? Well, it is. You just kind of have to set the routine and then follow through and do it.
Ryan, you wrote Welcome to Management, which is a wonderful primer for people entering the management world. And you talk about culture over command. What do you mean by that?
Culture over command. So I think like you can force people to be compliant if they report to you, but you can't force somebody to be committed. You have to earn commitment. And so I hope I can, my work, or I hope and I strive as a leader to inspire people to want to commit to me, not just to comply because they have to, because the org chart says so, or they're worried about getting fired. And we've all probably seen those environments where people comply because they just want to keep their job, versus the people who commit because they're inspired and empowered by a leader who cares about them and tries to serve them really well and puts them in positions to succeed, helps them, removes obstacles, like cares about them, right? And so I think if you do those things, if you're a new manager and all you think about is how can I show that I love and care about my people every day? Like, what specifically can I do? How about for my guy, John Mers, who is a real person, one of my friends to this day, who crushed it as a sales rep for multiple years. How about the fact that I know his kids, Ben and Colin, at the time at least, loved a specific video game and put it on their birthday list? How about I buy them that video game with some cookies, mail it to their house with a handwritten note that says, Ben, Colin, enjoy playing this video game while you eat cookies, because your dad, John, is absolutely destroying it at work. He's 160% of plan, 170% of plan, 184% of plan the last 3 months. He works insanely hard and tells me why is because of you guys. Wow. He wants to support you. He wants to be there for you guys. He wants to show you his work ethic can lead to financial security for your family. And so when he's not with you, when he's with me at work, he gets after it. And you guys should know that. And I hope you enjoy these video games and this cookie. How do you think John feels about me and about our team and about our place of work when his manager does stuff like that?
Exactly.
Right? Now, I had to learn his kids' names. I had to go through the process of knowing what he cares about and his why for why he's at work and all of the things that go into that. And I think as a leader, that's part of our job. That's part of our job, is to get to know our people, to care for them genuinely, and to do things that are above and beyond than just a pat on the back saying, good job, here's $100 bonus, right? There are many other ways you can show them that you care for them. You can get them to want to commit to you, not just comply. And so I think, I hope my career is a series of stories like that show people that I genuinely care for them, that I want to be there for them, that I want to support them, that I want to love on the people that they love and love them, right? That's how you show gratitude for real. And I think that's how you get people to want to commit to something that others might say, well, it's just a job. I got to comply to my boss because I don't want to lose it.
It's also a profound teaching moment, I would submit as well. In pursuit of excellence, you talked about cultivating transformational relationships. What does that mean?
So there's transactional relationships. We kind of
yes,
probably know what that, like, we know what that feels like. Somebody does something because they want something in return, right? You go to Chipotle and you give them money and they give you food, right? That's a transaction. Versus a transformational relationship is somebody who I think by definition, I am working to change you for the better. I hope, again, my thankful value is to the critical behavior that makes that true is to leave people, places, and things better than I found them, to transform them in a way, right? To leave you better. Chuck, when we talked prior to you launching this, right? Like my goal on that call was to leave you better than I found you. There was no transaction being done. It was simply like, hey, if I'm helpful, that feels good for me, right? I hope it helps you. I hope it puts you in a better position. That makes me feel good. That makes me feel like I'm living out my core values. That means I'm in alignment. I'm living in purpose. All that stuff's really important to me. So I just hope my life is a bunch of transformational relationships with people. I'm trying actively to be very intentional about surrounding myself with people who aren't transactional, who aren't looking to give just to get something, but they genuinely like enjoy having good relationships that we both probably will benefit from, but we're not keeping score. We're not keeping track. We're just trying to go out and help people and make a difference. And I found, when you live that way, it's like you seem to attract really great people that want to do the same, and we're all better off for it. I mean, life is really just about relationships and love, full stop. So let's try to make the most of that. And if I come across a transactional person, which you do, we all do, sure, you kind of manage through it and move on, and move on. Like, it's not like the worst thing ever. Sometimes transactions happen. It's okay. But for the most part, I want to be in transformational relationships where we're just trying to do our best to help other people.
And in the Score That Matters, how did you come up with the name, and what does it mean?
So there's a little sports element to it. There's you've noticed there's like little dash marks on it. I wrote it with my friend and mentor, Brooke Cupps, who is a basketball coach. And I think one of the biggest, Brooks had an amazing success winning games. He won the first ever state championship for Centerville High School, which is where I went in basketball. Centerville had never even come close. They never even made it to a Final Four, and Brooke took them to 4 of them back to back to back to back, which is insane. Won a title. So he got all of the results, and I think people started like asking him a lot about the results, and they don't set any results-based goals. All their goals are process-oriented. Everything is focused on the intrinsic, the internal scoreboard, which is living by your purpose, living by your values. And if, in his words, if you living to be more tough, passionate, unified, and thankful, then he thinks the results will take care of themselves. And he has all of the proof to back that up. I think I've tried to live my life that way. He does. We connected in 2017. We've become really close friends. Now he's a member of my Learning Leader team of coaches, and we wrote that book together, which was a great learning process for me because I played more of the student role and him the teacher. So to me, it's really, it could be called the score that matters most, right? There's an internal and external scoreboard, and we're focused.
Just getting to that about the internal, yes.
Yeah. It comes from a Warren Buffett quote, but he's like, I like your odds if you can live by that internal scorecard, he called it. We kind of shifted to the scoreboard, but to me, it's really about finding a way to understand, like, what is your purpose? What are your values? What is your personal definition of success, as opposed to making a comparison with other people? And if you can kind of figure that out and live in alignment with that, I think you're going to be more fulfilled. I think you're going to probably end up having better results. But that's hard. It takes time and effort. And so we tried to kind of codify that in a book. And fortunately, it seems like it's been helping some people.
Ryan, I often refer to the Gallup poll, not the poll. The Gallup does polling, but they also do incredible research. And a few years ago, they did a report on managerial abilities, and they came out and said that there's only about 1 in 10 people who kind of get it when it comes to managing other people. That 9 of the others don't get it and perhaps should, sit on the bench and not manage. What has your experience been with that?
I don't know. We do this kind of, one of the things I do when we go with leadership teams is we do like favorite boss, worst boss kind of thing, and just list the characteristics. And I don't know if it's 90-10, but there's definitely more on that kind of worst boss column of all the things that they do. I think it probably because it's really hard, because there's not a lot of great training, even at good companies. Like when I was writing Welcome to Management, that was one of the parts of my research was I would just ask people, like, what was your training like when you got promoted? What did you do? And most of the time it was either nothing, or they're like, I had a half day kind of boot camp or a full day. We went off with the other new managers and some random dude came in and, tried to train them up. And then it was like, all right, have at it. And so, like a lot of things, like it's really complex. It's really messy. It involves lots of different people because my first management job, there's 16 direct reports, right? All different people from different backgrounds. I naively, is 26, but I naively thought I just expected everyone to act like I would, right? I mean, that's how dumb sometimes you are. You just expect it. I'm like, hey, like people are coming in telling me about their spouses cheating on them and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I would never tell my boss this. Why are you doing, thinking in my head, all I'm focused on is crushing my number. I don't want my boss. I just want my boss to get out of my way. And that was just dumb. I mean, that's just not how people are. All 16 people have completely different, series of life experiences that have turned them into who they were at that time. And so there's just so much more that goes into it. I mean,
but the coach matters, doesn't it?
Oh, it's everything. Like, exactly. I mean, it's everything. The leadership matters a ton. And so I think a lot of people, though, they get into it, they're just not ready. And maybe that's just the way it works. Like it takes time, it takes repetition. As a manager, when I was trying to train other managers, I tried to get them in simulations and to actually coaching moments and to doing it. But that still wasn't enough. That you still kind of needed to get into the role and figure out what it's like. It's easy to make fun of the leaders. It's easy to talk bad about the leaders, especially when you're not sitting in that seat. It's completely different. I tell my friends who have remained individual contributors, they're kind of their whole career so far. And, they're always bad mouthing managers or the CEO or the SVP of whatever. Man, you just don't know what it's like sitting in that seat. You don't understand all the stuff they're dealing with, managing up, managing down, managing sideways, cost pressure. I mean, there's a million different things. And so I try to have grace for them because like when you're in that seat, there's just stuff that you deal with that you don't know when you're not. It's kind of like the man in the arena quote. Like if you're sitting in the cheap seats, like it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think a lot of people aren't very good at it because it takes a lot of reps to get good, and you got to be really intentional about trying to get better. And a lot of the jobs are just like fighting a fire every day. And if you're only fighting kind of the daily fire as opposed to trying to develop as a leader, you're probably going to struggle for a while. And so I think that's the difference is the people who get really good at it are really, really intentional about working on the craft of leadership and managing people. And the ones who stay kind of average or get worse are just fighting fires every day and not really working on themselves.
I remember the little ditty that said, spectators sit in serried rows, fill the enormous plaza full, but there is only one who knows, and that's the one who fights the bull.
Exactly. So
when
true.
I walked in this morning to at Sacred Heart here at the Communications Center, there was a young lady, Priscilla, that said, we started chatting and asked me what I was doing here and told her I was doing podcasts. And she said, oh, do something on sports management because my daughter had a coach in basketball. She was a very athletic daughter. She has a coach in basketball that just did nothing for her. This is high school. She switched to rugby, and all because of the coach. She's just on fire. And I thought, yep, I resonate with that. So
makes a huge difference. if you played sports long enough, you probably played for average to bad coaches. And if you're lucky, you've got to play for some great ones. And yeah, I mean, that's why it's become like a really highly paid profession for the ones who do it well. It makes a giant difference. You look at the turnarounds that happen. There are countless examples of that, whether it's in sports or it's in business. So that's why those jobs are so valuable, because they can, the ripple effect, the impact they can have can go far and wide. And likewise, if they're not doing a good job, it can be devastating for a company or for a team. So, I mean, that's why this industry is what it is, Chuck, right? Because it's super important.
I played an enormous amount of sports, but my career was tragically cut short by something called lack of talent. Ryan, we are at Sacred Heart University, and as we conclude, what advice would you have for a group of people who are mostly, whether they're undergrad or graduate students here on campus or around the country, the majority of whom are between 18 and 24 and about to embark on life and career? What message would you give them?
Become an excellent communicator, both written and verbally. It's amazing how that will help you in your career. If you can get up in front of a room and give a 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 60-minute talk and be compelling, be a good storyteller. Best story wins, as Morgan Housel told me, right? Become an excellent communicator. Also realize that your job is to add value to other people's lives, to improve their lives, to make them better. Be a pro, right? Show up prepared, show up early, do the work. Be really proactive. Don't wait and just sit there, right? Be action oriented, have a bias for action. Those are the types of people that you want, right? Try to develop high levels of self-awareness. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to surround yourself with truth tellers who have a high quality bar. And when you're around people like that, they will lift you up. And so there's a million things I'd say, but excellent communication, being proactive, a bias for action, increasing your level of self-awareness by surrounding yourself with impressive people who are willing to tell you the truth and have a high quality bar themselves. I think if you do those things, like you got a good shot. You got a good shot to make an impact wherever you are. I wasn't particularly good at any of those initially, but I think developed them as I went, and would have been better off had I really focused on that earlier in my career. Maybe it would have changed things for the better. But I think that's what I try to help people earlier in their career with. And I hope that it helps them.
Thank you. I'd like our listening and viewing audience to know this. I met you through a mutual friend, Rob Cordisco, who's also a client of yours at Insight Global. And you didn't have to do this, but you spent a fair bit of time with me talking about the podcast because I was going to be a novice at it. I was pretty good with a microphone, but had never done this before. And I am eternally grateful for you for that. And I would ask our listening and viewing audience to follow you and check out The Learning Leader if you've not already done so, or the books we've mentioned here this morning. So Ryan Hawk, a debt of gratitude to you. This has been tremendously informative and helpful. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for more conversations on the Heart to Heart podcasts on leadership.